Time, guys. It is time to figure out my Amazon book selling strategy, and I'm going to share it with you today. So, welcome to the Prof Sales YouTube channel, where we talk about being a reseller, being in business for yourself, being an entrepreneur, and just having a positive community here in our little neck of the woods on YouTube. So, I want to shout out all my favorite YouTube watchers who are the people watching right now. Of course, you're my favorite, right? So I'm glad that you guys are here. This channel is, like I said, it's about being in business for yourself. And we also try to promote, just a positive approach to business as well, and try not to focus on the negative and all the challenges and the hard things and the things that tend to get us down. We tend to try to figure out ways to deal with those things. So glad you're here. If you're watching live in the chat, leave me a question or comment. I'll try to shout it out and answer it if I can. And if you're watching this after on the playback, just go ahead and leave a question or a comment down below. And the only thing I want you to do is like this video. What's like, you say? Well, it's a new word I just created last night. It means to share and like the video. There's a little button down below. There's a like button and there's a share button. You can click those, and when you click the share, when it creates a post that you can share on social media, you can send to somebody a text message or email. And I would really appreciate it. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. It also lets Google know that I'm doing a good job and promotes the channel. So if you're a friend of the channel and you just like the content, hit the like buttons. See what I did there? 2 buttons, like. That's a word now. It's in the dictionary, I'm pretty sure. But thank you guys for coming on today. It is Friday, May 4th, 2018. And it's the end of a week, sort of. Is it really ever the end of a week when you're in business for yourself? I don't think it is. I think one just rolls right into the next. And that's okay. I kind of like that because, I like to stay in the business. It's hard for me to turn the business off in my brain. It's hard for me to think about, okay, I'm just going to do this Monday through Friday and then give it nothing on Saturday or Sunday. It's kind of just not the way my brain works. I don't know about you guys, but it's hard for me to just take a whole 48 hours and do nothing business-wise. Like, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still in the moment sometimes. I mean, obviously I got other things I do and I'm interested in, but being in business for yourself can be time consuming. It can be all consuming if you're not careful. So I thought I would take today to talk to you guys about sort of a new avenue that I've been exploring and what I'm going to be doing with it. And that's selling books on Amazon. As some of you know, I'm changing my eBay approach. And one of the ways I'm going to pivot is to pivot into some things on Amazon, specifically starting with books. I've sold books before on Amazon. I've bought books to sell on Amazon before, but it's been probably a year and a half since I've probably sold any books on Amazon. It's been a while. No, maybe even 2 years. It's been quite a while. Probably a year and a half. And some things have changed, some things have not changed, but I'm here to talk to you today, you guys today about what it is exactly I'm going to do. So I'm going to share the exact strategy. There's going to be some screen shares. There might even be a spreadsheet that's going to pop up. So I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm going to do to try to make this book selling model, this book selling piece of my business work. So we'll wait. I'll call a couple people out here. I've seen in the chat. Jennifer's here. Connie, Thrift Trader. I'm having trouble talking today. So sorry. Michelle's here. Sell quick, ship quick. That's kind of hard to say, but I like the name. Swamp's here. So thanks to you guys to showing up today and supporting the channel. Much appreciated. I don't have my sidekick Kaaren here with me. And someone gave me grief that sidekick is a derogatory term. I don't mean it in any sort of derogatory way. I certainly don't mean it to demean her. So sorry if you take offense to that term, but I don't mean it that way. And I don't think she takes it that way. I'm her sidekick as well. So whatever. All right. Sell all the books, Prof. Hank, I'm going to try. But I made 5 slides. I'm going to show you guys kind of exactly what I want to do with this book strategy, if that's the right word. I don't know if that's the right word. So we're going to do a little bit of screen share, partner in crime. Yeah, I like that too. So let me pull these up. And first, I want to talk to you guys about what I think I need to sell books and what I need in terms of supplies and equipment. And you can see here, I think you need a Bluetooth scanner, but I'm going to use my phone for now. Well, what's a Bluetooth scanner? Well, you can pair up a scanner with your phone and a scanning app so that you don't have to have your phone out all the time. And the app is very, very quick, very, very quick. It also means you could be looking at your phone, you could put your phone to the side. It just allows you to go faster. But for the moment, I don't think I really need that because I'm not fast at scanning and I'm sort of getting my footing on this. So my phone is fine. It costs me nothing extra. I'm good to go. Scotty Peeler, check mark, got them. I've had them for years, not a problem. But you get labels. You get all those sticky little price labels on books. You get other goo and so on that you have to take off. And it's just sort of, what a lot of, you're just going to have something to peel that stuff off because you don't want to send books in that way if you can avoid it. An Amazon seller account. So if you go to sellercentral.amazon.com, you can create a seller account. It's free. They have a paid subscription, which is $40 a month, and they have another one that's not paid. The big difference is you pay $1 fee on every item you sell when you're not a professional seller. So if you're going to sell more than 40 items a month, get the professional one. If not, stick with just the one that charges you $1 per item. Scout IQ subscription. I actually have that as well. That is my scanning app of choice for the moment. I like it quite well. There's a few things I wish it had, but overall, I think it's amazing. I don't have any affiliation with Scout IQ. Scout IQ is put out by Caleb Roth, thebookflipper.com. So if you want to check him out, feel free. Super sharp guy and has really put a lot of time and energy and work into making this app really, really good. Scout IQ will cost you about $35 to $40 a month, depending on your subscription option. But if you're going to be scanning a lot of books and you want to have triggers and things that can tell you whether or not you should pick a book up, given the inputs you put into the app, it's a must to have some sort of scanning app. The Amazon seller app is good for the moment, but it doesn't really break down data. It doesn't let you know whether you should or shouldn't buy a book. It just gives you sort of the base information. And if you want to go fast and you want to do volume, you're going to need some sort of app. And Scout IQ is a great one. Boxes and tape, etc. Have all that and a scale. You're going to need a scale. Why are you going to need a scale, you say, Prof? Because you can only send in up to a 50-pound box or less to Amazon. That is their rule. And it's a pretty good rule because you actually want to save your back and not be lifting, 75 and 100-pound boxes. Plus, they'll probably break. So that's kind of the supplies I think I need. Let's see if you guys have any other other comments on that. I'd be glad to hear them in the chat. Goof off would help too. That's great. We have. I think that's what we have. I'm pretty sure that's the one we have. A seller tool is a must for me. Haven't used that one yet. There's also what I didn't include on there is there's other software you might need like Inventory Labs or Excel Lister, I can't remember. But those allow you to input your books and get a really fast workflow. And I'll talk about that a little bit more down the road. But I think FBA requires a paid account. You might be right. No, actually, I don't know, Mark. That's a great point. And I'm not sure. If someone knows that, I've used Inventory Labs before to send in books and to send in things to Amazon in general. Inventory Labs is great because it streamlines your workflow. You're able to put in your cost of goods. It even does the back-end accounting for you, so your accountant will love you. But there's other apps out there too now that do the same thing. And they all most of them allow you to list live with Amazon. So you can actually list the item and in your software. And as you're doing that, it's talking to Amazon and literally taking the item live. And then you just stick the label on and put it in a box. It's ready to go at that moment, technically. It doesn't have to wait till you get to the warehouse, which is pretty cool. And yes, they all cost money per month. It's the cost of business, right? Subscriptions and things like that. Other people are saying FBA does not require a paid account. Yeah, I didn't think it did, but like I said, I haven't sold in a while. So things have changed, but it doesn't appear that's changed. You can still use FBA, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That's where Amazon, merchandise or warehouse your item for you and does all the customer service and packing and shipping. You can still do that even without having a professional seller account. But you have to be pro merchant to use third-party seller account apps. That's true. A lot of them do require that because they have to list live with Amazon, they have to ping the APIs at Amazon. And to do that, you have to have usually a professional seller account. But there are other ways you could list that you don't have to list live. So you can do it different ways. You can fulfill by merchant and so on. All right. Second big thing I needed to figure out here is my education. How am I going to get smart? And I'm going to ask you guys, how are you going to get smart in your business? I don't mean you're not smart, but I mean, how are you going to get smarter? Because, there's a lot of things out there, a lot of good information out there, but if you don't take advantage of it, you'll never know and you'll be missing out. So I'm going to talk to you for a second about my education. YouTube videos is a great way to learn things. It's not, I say that as a YouTube content creator, obviously, right? You guys are like, whatever. But it really is the truth because, there's just so much great information out there on YouTube. You're gonna have to find the sources that make the most sense to you and, maybe are the best for your particular mindset and what you're doing, because not all YouTube content is created equal. Obviously, mine is not the best for some people and other people enjoy it quite a bit. But, use YouTube you can research software, you can research groups, you can research different types of models, everything. Like I'm going to continue to use YouTube videos. The Scout IQ Facebook group, since that's the app I'm using currently, has been tremendous. It's a private group only available to people who are subscribed to Scout IQ. Caleb Roth, the creator, is in there quite a bit and commenting on things, as well as a lot of other booksellers, and people are just using it for other things too. But I love it so far. Like the interaction and people asking questions and getting answers has been amazing. I like smaller Facebook groups. I don't like maybe the ones that get too big because there's a lot of noise in those groups. And it's hard to separate what you really need from, the other stuff that you maybe don't need. And you see I got check marks between those because I think I'm already doing that. Other booksellers, this is an area of opportunity. I don't think that I have really hardly any bookseller friends. That sounded bad, right? Prof has no friends. That's not what I mean. I don't have any friends who are booksellers. And this goes back to like, I had people who sold, I had people that, okay, winds of change. I'll show your comment since you're pushing your channel. That's cool. I don't know if your content's superior or not, but you say it is, so great. I need to reach out to other booksellers and start making connections because I can learn from them. I can hopefully bring them some value too in what I learn and my approach. And I did that with clothing. I've done that with other products. I've done that with shoes. But I haven't done it with books yet because I just haven't gotten to it yet. But that is definitely an area of opportunity. So if you're a bookseller and you're watching this, be my friend. I'll just say that. Does that sound bad? I'm begging for friends on YouTube. Wow. Has it come to this now? It has come to this. No, absolutely. I will collaborate with anybody and everybody. I'm not better than anybody else. And I'm nobody, and we're all a bunch of nobodies. But together, we can be something greater. And that's the only way, or it's not the only way, but it's one of the best ways you're going to be able to improve your education is to connect with other sellers. So just in general, guys, and we've talked about this before, if you're not connecting to other sellers in the reselling community, you are missing out on opportunities. You are missing out on education. You're missing out on the ability to run things by other people and see what they think, and them to run things by you, and it will push you in directions you never thought. So don't be shy about reaching out to other people, even if you don't know them. If somebody's really impressed you with their knowledge, like in a group or a channel, reach out to them. Like, what do you got to lose? The worst they can say is, yeah, I just don't have a lot of time to talk to you about this, or they ignore you. So what? All right, lots of great comments in here too. Jennifer says I have her. Thanks, Jennifer. Some of the groups are negative. Yep. I thought most people moved on from book selling, at least the ones who are very public with their book selling, Jeff says. Nope, I don't think that's true. There's obviously still a lot of people who are out there. Prof, I will be your friend. Red Neckerson, you are my friend. You don't have to be my friend. You already are. Um, let's see. I don't sell any books, but I'll be your friend anyway. Well, if nothing else, I've gained friends from this show already. So, and as good friends should do, shameless plug, click on the like button, share and like. Share this video with other people. Click that button right below the player, creates a post. You can share it with somebody, a thread, a link to somebody that might get value from it, and the like button's right there too. So I would appreciate it. Just takes a moment. All right. Deb says, the booksellers told us book selling was no good after the fee changes, so we all wouldn't sell books. You know, that's a great point, Deb. And I know you meant it kind of silly because you put the little smiley face after it. But if we quit selling things because fees went up, we would never sell anything again. Because is there anything you can name on these platforms that hasn't gone up in cost to sell over the last 5-10 years? They all have. They all have. And so, you have to adapt and adjust and make sure it still makes sense for you. But that's just what happens, sort of the natural evolution of things. All right, number 3. So the next thing I want to share with you guys was my sourcing strategy. All right, here's the good stuff. Everybody goes, where are you going to buy the books? Well, that's a great question. And I spent all day yesterday, I would say, yeah, it was most of yesterday, going around doing some sourcing and had some success, had some, not some great places, some okay. I was mainly hitting thrifts, but I also hit a local seller of textbooks. That was probably the best sale or the best pickup of the day. But here is what my plan is. So critique it, tell me it's dumb, tell me it's great, tell me it's, it's delusional. I don't know, whatever you want to tell me. So this is my sourcing strategy for books. My plan is to hit thrift stores. Now, I've already been hitting some of those, and thrift stores are very challenging to find a lot of volume from. There are times you could probably go in there and find 10, 15, 20, 30 books in a particular store, but that seems to be a rarity, at least in my area. Now, maybe I'm just not doing it right, but it's tough, and there's definitely not a lot of textbooks. There are some, but they tend to be older. I hit probably 1, 2, 3, 4. I probably hit about 5 or 6 thrift stores yesterday, and probably didn't really pull. I don't know if I maybe pulled 10 books. It wasn't a lot. And I'm looking to net at least $4 after fees from these books, or $4, and that includes a cost of goods of $1.50. So netting $2.50 after the cost of goods. That's sort of like the floor. And I have my Scout IQ set up to do that. And there was not a lot. I didn't scan every single book in the store, and that's kind of my bad. I'm still cherry picking, and when you're cherry picking when you're new, that's not always the best thing to do. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. So tell me I'm stupid. It's cool. All right. Next up will be estate sales. I've started looking at those locally for books. A lot of times they'll just throw in the description, we got some books, and they'll throw a picture up. And, estate sales are interesting because in the past, I've been able to buy books really, really cheaply at estate sales. And sometimes you can make a deal on all of them and get a very low price per book. So low that even the ones that are just sort of marginal, you can still get and send in or sell merchant fulfilled and make money on. And of course, the home runs are home runs. So that's what I've been looking at for those. Yard sales will be a similar opportunity. I don't know that yard sales will be that great because I feel like in a lot of yard sales around here, at least, people bring out kids' books, and kids' books traditionally are not great for resale. They just don't have a lot of value. But we'll see. Storage unit buyers. So one thing I'd like to do is go around to some of these storage auctions with my van and some containers in the back and bring some cash or not and talk to the people who win these units. And when I see books in these units, I'm not there to buy the unit necessarily, but I'm there to help the person who bought the unit clear it out, because a lot of times these people don't want the books when they buy these units. So I think networking this way and having a business card I can hand to these people and right there in the spot saying, hey, I will take care of those books for you and get them out of your way. I think I could probably even pick up some of these books for free, or maybe even throw them a nominal fee like 10 or 20 bucks. But either way, I think that's a potentially niche area to get into. And you're going to see a lot of storage units at some of these auctions. Like some of these storage unit auctions will have like 20, 25 units being auctioned off. So there's a decent chance you will find some books in some of them. And you theoretically could be known as a book guy or a book woman, and you could get all the books there. And that helps them out too, because they usually don't want to fool with it. They're usually there. The people buying these units are there for something different. I'd love to hear if anybody else has had any luck or not luck with sourcing or contacting storage unit buyers. So pallets of books, those are obviously something that you can buy, these big, huge pallets full of books, usually in a Gaylord, anywhere from like 600 to 1,000 books or so in one of these. I don't have any experience with that. I feel like a lot of these probably wouldn't be that great, and you literally have to go through and scan everything. But the price per book is so low that you probably could get a lot of bread and butter sort of buys, but we'll see. I'm not ready to do that anytime soon, but it's definitely a strategy I'm considering. And last but not least is neighborhood groups, being able to talk to the people in my neighborhood and so on, and through Facebook groups and next door groups, and be able to offer a service where maybe you can donate items for people, letting them know that you're also running a business, and maybe you even offer a donation to a local group that will, you say, hey, I'm going to take these items and I will donate whatever you need. I will provide you with receipts, and I will maybe make a donation to your favorite charitable organization, what have you. It's like, I'm running a business. You have to be very clear and upfront what you're doing there, and make sure you're not breaking any laws or anything. So that's a possibility as well. All right, a couple questions came on. You'll have 50 Nora Roberts books from estate sale. That's probably true. Nora Roberts for the win. At least 50% of my high-end items I got cheap estate sales. Yep. Put it in Craigslist. You'll pick up books for free. That's a great idea, Fabiola. I hadn't thought of that. Jason, is the book business basically the jeans business but without the storage shipping part? Like if you could have scanned used jeans and sent them in, isn't this the same plan? I don't think it is. First of all, you can't scan used jeans. Second of all, jeans require photos and condition and so on. And third, you can't predict when jeans are going to sell. You can't. You can predict when certain things are going to sell on Amazon, given all the info they give you behind the scenes that's not available on eBay. It just isn't. And I talked about that in a video the other day, but the method may be somewhat similar, but it's really the execution of it is totally different. And the expectation on the back end for what you'll get out of it is miles apart from, the jeans model on eBay. So that's kind of my take on that. Plan on being willing to travel if you do library sales. Yeah, and that's a good point. When to change. I do have a library branch near me that sells books pretty frequently. I haven't gotten a chance to go over there yet, but I've gotten over there, but it was like a year and a half ago. So I don't know what it's like now. So we'll see. Excuse me. I'm sorry. It's very warm in the warehouse today, just so you guys know. Fabiola can write off his vehicle as a bookmobile. Yeah, you can definitely write off your time to go source these things for sure. Okay. All right. Let's look at number 4. I got 5 slides total, guys. So I'm going to show you the 5 components here of what I've come up with so far. Again, totally open to suggestions, totally open to feedback. I certainly don't know everything there is to know about this model, and I'm gonna learn. And you can learn right along with me if you want. If you're not interested in it, well, maybe just learn something in general. All right, let's talk about growth. So how do I grow this business? And this is really kind of, you can have your sourcing, you can have your equipment, you can have your ability to be able to process things, but then you got to go out and execute some kind of strategy. And this is what I see my strategy being going forward. So to grow, first of all, I think I'm going to have to research and try all those sourcing strategies, maybe at least once. Whether it's estate sales, yard sales, buying by the Gaylord, sourcing online. I didn't put that one on there. Online arbitrage. There's so many different ones, and they all have different pluses and minuses. The second part of the growth strategy is to develop connections with local sources. Anything I can get locally, whether it be from donations, whether it be from overstocks, whether it be from people who buy storage units, whatever it is. I mean, that's cheaper because I can theoretically pick up items. I can have them local. It doesn't require me to ship anything here, so it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be easier by definition. And that's going to have to be something that's going to take time. Like, that's not going to happen overnight. If you're sourcing and thrifting in thrift stores and so on, the stores that's your sources. So they're going to be open what they're open. You're going to kind of know what they have there. And you kind of don't have to develop too many connections to just go around to a lot of different thrift stores and find inventory. But this is a little bit different than that. And it'll take me out of my comfort zone a little bit. It's just having to know that you've got to go in and connect with other people that are can help you, and that you can help them as well. So that's going to be something that's going to be definitely a challenge. The third thing here is to hire a part-time sourcer down the road, because what's great about books, as I've mentioned before, and a lot of other items, not just books, but you can know how much an item is worth. And if you know how much it's worth, you know how much it's worth for someone to source it for you. It's not inconceivable to have a contractor out there scanning books for you, going to wherever they want to go. Technically, they could go to thrifts, they could go to consignment, they could go to yard sales, estate sales, and finding books for you and then paying them a per book price. This is similar. This is a way to get yourself out of the business. And Luke and I were talking about that last night on the show that we did, Reseller Rebound, about how he's been able to take himself out of the photo and listing process somewhat. And now his next step is to find, to train somebody to be able to source for him too. And it's a little bit harder sometimes with clothing and so on, just because there's so many things that go into it. But with a book, it's not that hard, because they literally scan a barcode, and as long as the book is not in horrible condition, they pick it up or they don't, because the app tells them whether to pick it up or not. There's not really any ambiguity there. So, and you can go very quickly through them. You don't have to look over that much area on a book. A book doesn't have that much surface area between the pages. Whereas, a pair of jeans or a dress or something like that, you've got to kind of really scrutinize it, make sure there's no rips or tears or stains. So I think that's definitely a way that I could grow this business down the road. Definitely not ready to do that right now. But as I get a little bit better at this, that will be something to do. And the fourth thing is to continue learning, because I think that if you're not continuing learning in this business or any other business, you're going backwards. I've never been one to say, you get this model and then you just execute it forever, and you don't have to, and eventually everything, and you can just execute that way for the rest of your business life. I don't think that's the way it works, because the market and the way it all works around you changes and evolves, and you have to adapt to it to some degree. If you don't, then you'll end up just being left behind, and all of a sudden what was a great profitable business now is no longer so great or profitable. But that's what I think in terms of continuing to learn. So that's kind of the growth strategy, and I'll give you what that's going to look like here in a minute. That'll be the last slide. So let me come back to you guys for a moment. There's a couple questions here. If you had an employee, where would you tell them to go? Well, I won't have an employee. You get into like these legal definitions with employees, but if you want to hire someone to contract to you, or to contract for you, then they can go when they want to go, where they want to go. You don't really direct them. You don't say, hey, I expect this or expect that. You say, this is what, I will pay for this. And you let them do it on their time, on their schedule, and their method, and they can do whatever they want to do. That way, in most cases, you also avoid them becoming an employee, and they retain their contractor status. And that's important from a employer-employee relationship, because if they become your employee, that opens up a whole nother can of worms for what you have to provide for them, like things like unemployment insurance and workman's comp. And it's just, you don't want to go down that road if you can avoid it. So you definitely have to be able to let people, if they're going to work for you as contractors, and talk to your professionals on this, guys. Talk to a tax attorney or CPA, but they have to maintain some autonomy in a lot of cases, or else they could be classified as an employee. And then if they're an employee of you, then you owe them certain things legally. You have to deduct, the FICA taxes and so on, the payroll taxes. It's a whole other can of worms, and you don't want to do that. So it's cool, and that's what a lot of resellers do. They hire contractors, and they don't give them, specific time frames for things. They say, hey, I'm going to bring you these items, and if you will do this to it, I will give you this much per item or whatever it is. And then they come back at some point in the future and pick it up and bring some new stuff to them. That way they sort of avoid that person becoming an employee. But again, talk to your professionals on that. I am not an expert. Don't worry, employees solve all your problems. I feel like there was sarcasm behind that, Thrift Daddy. So funny. Let's see. Deb is not a fan of book selling, I don't think. Deb, is that accurate? Because she asked, you like to work assembly line. Does it make you feel fulfilled to process a bunch of Amazon books over and over and over? It's really boring and sucks out your life. First of all, I wouldn't characterize it that way, but even if that were the case, I would always constantly be evolving to the point where I would not be working an assembly line to do it. Like, I think that's like first level thinking that we all fall into as resellers. And I know I've fallen into it. You're like, and what I mean by first level thinking, and a lot of business owners fall into this, and I've been guilty of it many times. You feel like you have to do everything in your business or it won't get done right. And as long as you feel that way, you will be the only person doing everything. And everything, as you try to scale, becomes impossible because you can only do so much. You personally, right? You only have so many hours and so much energy. And so I think if you approach it from that direction, like any business model would be very challenging if you wanted to scale it, unless you just find something that's so super profitable in terms of actual dollars. I don't mean return on investment, but I mean the actual profit dollars that you can just sell very, very few of them, put in very, very little time and effort. And those opportunities are out there. They're just not super common. But I wouldn't characterize it that way. I think that, like I was just talking about, like a contractor, that takes some of the assembly line process out of it. There's even models where you can have people source books for you and set them up in accounts and things like inventory labs and have them process the shipments and send them in. And they don't have access. They only have access in inventory labs to what you give them. They don't have access to all of your admin stuff, but you give them the ability to scan in items and send them in themselves. And of course, you're paying them for that, but that takes it completely out of your hands. Now they're sourcing and prepping and shipping the item for you if it's an FBA item. So I don't think you have to approach it that way. If you want to do that type of business model, there's nothing wrong with it. I just think, to your point, then you will end up feeling maybe like one day that it's an assembly line and you're the only worker on it. And it could absolutely burn you out if you're sitting there processing hundreds and thousands of books a week, for instance, or hundreds and thousands of anything. Would be incredibly mind-numbingly boring to me. But to some people, they love doing that. Like, that's right in their wheelhouse. And, they should do it then if that fulfills them on some level. But I'm always looking for ways to make it a little simpler than that. Hopefully I answer your question or your statement. I guess it really wasn't a question. Let's see if there's any other ones here. Then they'd have a day they bring you the books. Interested in that? No, they wouldn't have to bring you the books, Winds of Change. You could bring them the next batch and pick up the ones they got for you. That's it. So you're just on a 1 week, or 2 weeks, whatever it needs to be. You're just on a rolling schedule there. You could go to them and pick up what they had sourced that week, and then they're going to go back out and get another batch potentially. You just hook up with them once a week, and pick up what they've got for you. And of course, if they're prepping and shipping it for you, there are people who set people up with, there are booksellers who set up their contractors with setups in their home. They provide them a Dymo printer. They provide them a little, handheld scanner. They give them the admin or give them access like a user account to their listing software, and they provide them labels and all that good stuff and a scale, and they're able to actually process and ship everything right there from their home. So the person who's in charge of it doesn't have to technically sell anything on their own. And you could have an army of sourcers doing that if you wanted to. I mean, or whatever works for you. You know, it just like if that part of the business. Let's go back to clothing for a minute. If the photographing part of the business doesn't work for you, you know, like Luke was dropping off his items to people who were photographing them for him and eventually listing them as well. So he dropped them off to them. They have a little photography set up. They take photos on their own time. He's not directing that. And then eventually he was giving them the ability to list as well. So they can actually go in and make a listing. He's taken himself out of the photograph and listing part so he can focus on the parts where he's better at or he thinks he can grow in. Because remember, guys, like 2 hands are going to be, or 4 hands is going to be faster than 2. 2 heads are better than 1 usually. I mean, even if that person's not as fast as you, they're still going to get more work done than you alone would. And they're going to not take all the energy either. So, you know, just kind of always consider that, ways to sort of outsource all that stuff. All right. I hear a big truck honking outside, and I hope it's not for me. I don't think it is. You're going to give them straight cash, homie, to go source you. They will need some cash up front. Yeah, and actually, people do that. I was actually talking to Luke about that, and that's what he does. He gives them the cash to go out and source, and you know, then pays them whatever, you know, per item price he's paying them once they bring in the items. I mean, it is what it is, guys. Like, I mean, you're like, oh, I'm, you know, and because I thought that too. Is like, well, I don't know if I want to give people money. Could they take off and run with it? They could, for sure. It's possible, but you do your vetting process just like anything else beforehand, you know, and you do your due diligence, and, you know, you try to hire or get get contractors that are reputable and honest. I mean, I don't know what to tell you on that. Like, if you're not ever going to trust anybody with your money or your inventory or your facility, then okay, fine, but you're never going to have an employer contractor working for you, right? I mean, you open your home up to a plumber who needs to come fix your plumbing, or an HVAC guy who needs to come fix your air conditioner. I mean, they could come in there and rob you blind. How do you ever really know? You don't know. So there's nothing you really know for sure. If somebody's going to be dishonest and steal from you, then they're going to do it. There's nothing you can really do about that, and that can absolutely happen. But again, this is how you grow. So, all right, moving on. Last thing, expected outcomes. All right, so here's what I'm hoping will happen. Now, caveat, I don't have control over this totally, but I think it's doable. I think it's a reasonable set of outcomes to expect, and I'll show you why here in a moment. So let me do a screen share. Let me get a little water first. Let's see here. Sorry, this is moving around. Expected outcomes. So I need to build up my inventory over this next year, we shall say. Keep my buy cost at $1.50 per unit. That's a pretty decent average. I would like to get it at least that low. That's what I would pay at a thrift store around here. I know I will have to pay up for some books, but they will be a small percentage of books to start. To list 50 books per week over the next year, and to aim for a $20 average selling price. Now, a lot of the books that I list will not be a $20 average selling price, but the ones that will be higher will be significantly higher, like textbooks, for instance. So they will blow that average up quite a bit. A sell-through goal of 4% per week. Yeah, you guys saw that right. Now, I know a lot of you are wondering if that's a realistic number. From everything I've read and researched so far, it is. Some people average a number much higher than that. That's actually a conservative estimate. And grow towards 100 listings per week. And that should net at that number, at 50 per week, around $1,000 a month. Now, why do I say that? Well, let me show you. I'm going to stop sharing this for a minute so I can show you why I say that. Caleb Roth, again, also has this great spreadsheet that allows you to sort of figure out your goals here and what you can aim towards. So It's a spreadsheet that he provides. I think he actually provides this for free. And it's just called the Amazon FBA Book Flipping Weekly Calculator. And all it does is ask you for 6 numbers. A starting inventory, how many items you already have in stock, the number you're going to list per week, an average buy cost, and this is a pretty average amount for what you're going to ship in. It's going to cost you around 40 cents per pound. And your turn rate, how many you're going to sell per week, and an average sale price. And when you do that, it tells you here kind of what your numbers would be like. So in the first year, you would sell about $61,000 worth of books if you were doing that all year. And your profit before your overhead and your salary or whatever would be around 24 grand. So when I said I'm going to be more conservative, I'm going to say 50 books per week. And we see the numbers change. So that's where you get about $12,000 in net profit from 50 books a week, which is not a crazy number. Books don't take the amount of time that other items take. And you can play around with this. So say you're paying somebody $1.50, or you're paying them $1 per book, which is a pretty standard amount. So instead of an average buy cost of $150, your buy cost would be basically $250 if they were doing all of the sourcing. So now you can see how the numbers change. You would gross around 31,000 and you would net around 9,500 on that sort of business model. And as you go up, now what gets interesting is I'm going to go back to the 100 per week, and I'm going to leave it at the $1.50 average buy cost. As you grow into the second year, you actually gain quite a bit of growth, because a lot of these books that didn't sell in the first year will sell. Some of them will sell over the second year. So you're building inventory. You're not selling through faster than what you're adding, basically. So your gross gets closer to 100 grand with a $45,000 net. And then you actually top off kind of around that number. The reason you don't grow much the third year is because you're selling about 100 per week. So you don't really grow much in the third year unless you step up your sourcing, or you increase your average sale price, or your turn rate gets better, something like that. But it's a pretty cool little spreadsheet. I got it from his website, thebookflipper.com. And it just lets you to kind of play around with these numbers up here so you can see what you would do. Maybe you can only find 10 books a week. And if you do that, you're going to gross about $6,200 in a year for that. And you're going to net about $2,400. In the second year, it'll be $10,000 and you'll net around $4,500, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. So I hope that kind of made sense. That is where I kind of got those numbers from. 4% turn, 250 books. So you told 10 books. The first week, yes, that's correct. The first week. And the second week, you would sell 4% of whatever your new amount was, and so on. How much time are you putting into making $1,000 a month? That depends. I don't know. I can't tell you how much it will be for me, you, or anybody. I know this. I suspect that when you were good at it, let's say, I don't know how long would it take you to source, say, going to the model I'm talking about here, 200 books in a month. You're going to have to scan and bring in you're probably going to have to look at like 20 to 25 times that many. So you're going to have to probably process around 2,500 books. I know there are people who go in thrift stores or places with lots of books and can literally scan 1,000 books in an hour. So you do the math there. So let's say you're at half that. So maybe you're able to scan 500 books in an hour total. And I know there's other time. I get that. So that's around 5 hours to scan them all. How long would it take you to process and ship those in? To ship in 400 books that you found in a given, or 200 books that you found in a given month? Probably only an hour or two at most. I mean, it's very quick to ship in books. So you've got maybe 6 hours into the 2,500 books that you scanned and the 200 that you send in a given month. So 6 hours, if you're going to eventually be turning $1,000 net profit, that's $160 some an hour, which is a pretty good hourly rate. Hopefully that answers your question. Deb, you got so many questions. I can't answer all these, but I'm going to try. what happens with the storage fees on that 4% turn that a lot of books have sitting there wait to turn? Well, that comes down to what you're scanning and sending in. If you're sending in high-ranked books, then you need the great thing about these book scanning apps, and I can't go into super detail right here because it's just it would be too much to try to share in this moment. But basically what happens is as the sales rank gets worse for a book, your profit expectation should grow. In other words, if you're going to have to wait a while to sell a book and have to pay storage fees and maybe even long-term storage fees, it's going to have to be worth it. So while you're paying more in fees for those books that take a while to sell, if you truly believe by what the sales numbers tell you that this book is going to sell for $90, but you might have to wait 6 months to do it, okay, if you pay $1.50 and pay even $5 or $10 in fees, not that big a deal. On the other hand, if you have to wait 6 months to sell it and it only sells for $20, that doesn't make sense. So it's a combination of the sales rank and the average selling price for when it does sell, because you are going to have to pay those fees as the book sits there if you send it in FBA. And if it doesn't make sense FBA, you can always do it merchant fulfilled and keep it yourself. You're not going to get quite the same turn rate. You're not going to get the same average selling price, but you're not paying the fees either. So it comes down to sort of like figuring out what makes sense with a given book, given the sales rank, given the selling price, the historical numbers that you can look at and see. I mean, all this information is out there. I'm not telling you guys anything that you can't already go find on your own. But the really good apps that are out there have ways to sort of analyze that data and figure out what makes the most sense for a given book. And the reality is, most of the books you scan, most of the books you look at, you are not going to pick up and sell. And I don't think that's any different from what we already do. Like, I don't know how many jeans I've gone through in my life in the past, especially the past 3 years, but it is in the few tens of thousands, I would guess. And the vast majority of them I did not buy because they weren't sellable for the numbers that I wanted. But I still had to look through them to find the ones that I did. The difference is with jeans is only through my own knowledge did I kind of figure out what would maybe sell in a reasonable amount of time for a decent amount of money. But with things that sell on Amazon, specifically like books, I can look at a very clear historical record and make a much better educated guess at that than I can with a clothing item. So that's why I'm a fan of it. Hopefully that all made sense. That's a long explanation. I'm very sorry that took so long. Would there be a problem to have the same store name on eBay and Amazon? No, not that I know of. As long as you're not violating any trademark or anything like that, any copyright claim. If you went on there and called yourself Nike, that might be a problem. But as long as you're doing it in a way that's not doing that, I don't think there's any issue with that as far as I know. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't think Amazon cares. I don't think eBay cares. Now calculate in a $5 ASP. Don't pick it up if it's $5. I wouldn't sell a $5 clothing item. I don't see where it's really any different. I wouldn't sell a $5 item unless I had it in quantity and could streamline the shipping and processing of it to be very, very efficient. And I could duplicate it over and over. That's the only way I would consider something that low, because the margins would be so low, I just wouldn't be making, and my time is worth something to put my time into it. So I got to be making something over and over and over. And if it's a multi-quantity listing, that's different. But if I had 5 random pair of jeans that all sold for $5 each, there is no way I would pick those up. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Or 5 pairs of shoes. It's just not enough profit for your work. Library sales are the best bang for the buck. I have heard that. I have not been to a library sale yet, but I will. Brian says he doesn't buy a book unless he can make $5 minimum, has a good rank. Typing in ISBNs is great as well. Sometimes I can use the Amazon Flow and the Seller app. Yeah, for sure. Edward does merchant fulfilled, not FBA. Books are not a commodity. Wait, books are not commodities, so it is long tail items. Besides, 98% of books in circulation are just garbage. Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Edward, from what I've seen. It's not they're garbage. It's just it's not worth taking the time and the money and the energy to sell them. they might sell, but when you're looking at a book that's got a really bad sales rank and it sells like 1 copy a year and there's 40 listings, which, by the way, there's another huge advantage that Amazon has in general. I can see how much competition there is very distinctly for a specific item. I can see how many sellers there are. Now, I can't see the FBA Prime offers necessarily, but I can see how many used sellers there are. I can't do that with a lot of items on eBay. It's just not possible. I mean, I could go and count, but it's not very efficient. It's not, and then, that's a huge advantage, because if I see a book that's selling 3 copies a day and there's only 60 people that are selling it, I've got a real good chance of selling that book within a month, right? 90 copies are going to sell by the end of the month. On the other hand, if it's selling 3 copies a day and there's 800 people on the listing, not as great a chance. So those are the types of things that, I love to see on the back end. Booksalefinder.com is the best. Yeah. It's interesting you guys say that, though, because there are never seemingly book sales in Charlotte on that website. It's always, I got to drive somewhere to them. So I don't know why. Like, I can't believe there's never book sales here in Charlotte. And maybe just like the libraries here don't do it or anybody else does it. I don't know. But it seems like there's never book sales listed on that app in Charlotte. Maybe I'm just not looking in the right place. What is a good book rank approximately? It depends. I've heard different explanations of that. It kind of depends on, the price it's selling for too. The more it sells for, you can accept a higher rank to some degree. But I've heard some numbers as of late. I believe usually when a book sells, it jumps about 200,000 in rank. So if a book is, and if a book is 1 million rank, I think it might be selling, that might be 1 copy a day on average. Somebody correct me. I might be wrong on that. It might be less than 1 copy, but you can kind of tell, but it's not a perfect science because Amazon doesn't share the algorithm for sales rank. So it's a little bit of a guess, but we can kind of reverse engineer the numbers, and people smarter than me have done some of this and sort of figured out what a rank means. If it's number 1 rank, it's selling multiple copies per day for sure. If it's a 10 million rank, it's pretty much never selling. So, it depends on what the book is. Like, textbooks sell better certain times of the year, right? Before school, there's going to be 2 very distinct periods, and you can see it in their sales rank. Their sales rank gets very good in August and January. So it goes like this in August, or however you want to look at it, down to 1, closer to 1. Then it doesn't go to 1 usually, but it goes closer to the top ranks. And then it climbs back in September, October, November, December. And then January comes back down again for a while. And then it starts going back up again because a lot of copies are sold. When a book sells, the rank gets better because Amazon looks at it like, oh, people want this item, so we're going to increase the sales rank or make the rank better. When it doesn't sell for a long time, it slowly drifts back up to a higher and higher rank, and it's not as good of a sales rank because no one's buying it. So that's kind of how it works, but Amazon would be the only one who could tell you 100%, and they ain't talking. Use Jungle Scout Sales Estimator. Yep, that's for sure. Best. Let's see. 60 books selling, 3 a day, and then 10 more people sending 10 books each at a cheaper price than you. Don't forget other sellers exist. That's like anything else, though, Deb. It's not quite that simple either, because I'm going to ask you a question here, Deb. You've been a seller for a long time, and a lot of you guys are here. And I asked Luke this question the other day, and I didn't ask it to him. I just made a statement, and he was like, "Oh, I hadn't, really thought of that way." Why does a clothing item sometimes sell for $8 and sometimes sell for 30, and it's the same item? Why is that? Like, why is there a difference in price? Because I hear this argument that, oh, I need to always price it lower to sell it. And if that were true, then the lowest selling price on all items on eBay or Amazon would by far be the only ones that ever got a sale. But lo and behold, that's not the case, is it? There are items, the exact same item, that sell in a range of prices. So think about that. Like, why is that? And I told Luke it's because the markets on these platforms are not efficient. They don't figure out the exact price something is. There's a lot of other factors that go into this. So you have to wonder about that. Like, you can see price change, and by the way, like, not every item's in the exact same condition. Although you're selling on the same ASIN on a platform like Amazon, but there's different conditions, and some people care about that. Other people care about the ratings of the seller. Prime versus not prime is a deciding factor. I said this last night on the show. 50% of Amazon shoppers prefer to buy things on Prime, yet only like 10 or 15% of the items on Amazon are Prime listings. So there's a huge opportunity there for people to make up that sort of difference. So I don't think it's as simple as, like, something sells and then everybody else sends in items at a lower price. And even if they were, guess what? You know what you can do on Amazon? You can't do on, say, eBay. If prices are really low for like a merchant item, merchant fulfilled, and there's like 7 or 8 items in front of, or 7 or 8 items, and then it sort of jumps up to the prime price, you could literally buy all 7 or 8 of those and then reflip them at the prime price and make the difference. Boom. There's your tip of the video. Take that and do with it what you will. I just gave you like instant sourcing information that you could use to, you could literally set the market price for Prime on a lot of things on Amazon. Not everything, but some things. And by doing what I just said, buy up the cheap merchant fulfilled ones and until there's nothing left at the Prime price, and then flip them back at the Prime price. Done. So, and it's not my idea. I mean, other people have come up with it way before me. Let's see here. Jungle Scout is an app. Actually, junglescout.com/estimator it's not a free site, but that part of the site is free. And you can put in a sales rank in a category, and it'll tell you approximately how many items will sell per month at that sales rank. So, if you picked up this, this Lego set, you want to, oops, as I'm dropping them, you picked up this Lego set and you wanted to find out how many of these sell, you could, and it's got a rank of, 60,000 in toy. You could put that in junglescout.com/estimator, and it would tell you how many of these are likely to sell in a month at that rank in toys. And then you say, oh, well, it looks like 38 of them are selling and there's 60 people on the listing. So maybe I'll send it in. You can't, well, Lego's a restricted brand on Amazon, so good luck with that. But you get the point. Let's see. Yeah, that depends. I'm trying to read here. It depends on how many items the lowest person has. If they have 1, yeah, if they have 100, then no. They don't typically have 100 clearance ninja. That's pretty rare in something like books. It's incredibly rare, actually. The only time you might run into multiple copies would be if a larger bookseller had gotten a whole bunch of those in bulk somehow and was listing them. And you can actually figure out how many listings they have. There's a little trick to do that, but it's not that common, and it's certainly not the norm. And a lot of times you can just look at the ratings of the people who are on those listings, and if they don't have like 1 million ratings or 500,000 ratings, these are not huge sellers. So they probably just have literally 1 copy. So anyway, people, what does that say? People aren't looking for more books on FBA. It's different products, not on FBA now. I'm not sure what that means, Thrift Daddy. So you have to clarify that comment. Keepa is good to use when listing. Yeah, and that's one of the things I like about the Scoutify app. It incorporates, when you click on the you touch, like you scan something, you can go in and see like the I know you see camel. I'm not sure if it shows Keepa on the screen or not. Think about it a second, but it shows you can see kind of like the sales rank right there. You can just go right to it. You don't even have to separately go to camel. You can just, it'll take you right to that screen and show you the rank and show you the chart over time. So pretty quick to use. Educate yourself on vintage books. You'll be rich on eBay. Sounds like good explanation. Yeah, Thrift Trader's putting he's putting the tip in the chat to add it to your cart. Add an item to your cart on Amazon. Change the quantity to 99, and it will show you the available quantity of your competitor. So there you go. It'll show you if they really have 99, and they're not. Like, try and see. Like, if you don't believe me, go out there and try and see. It's just not. It's not that common. So eBay has. Sorry, I missed that comment. I'm trying to read through some of these because some of these are multiple comments. Amazon has it all in a catalog. The lowest price is basically the buy box. Your thoughts for eBay, not FBA? No, that's not always true, Deb, actually, as I've been finding out. There are not a lot of individual listings to pick from. It's all a catalog listing. That thought process doesn't work for FBA. I'm not sure what thought process you're talking about. eBay has 1,000 of the same shirt and individual listings, and the buyer will pick based on seller picks, location, price to ship. They don't do that on Amazon. Yeah, they typically do it by the buy box. That's true, but the buy box is not always the lowest price. It just isn't. I can show you that in any app you want to look at, and because it depends on some other factors, and it depends on if Amazon's on the listing or not, and there's ways sort of around that too. So, you know, I would encourage you guys to go do your own research on this, because honestly, I understand that people have a different sort of mindset between eBay and Amazon, and they're not the same. They're not the same types of platforms. They have a lot of differences between them. But the reality is that figuring out selling on Amazon and figuring out selling on eBay are not some big mystery. We know how they work. We just have to decide if that method makes sense for our models and what we want to do with our businesses and so on, and then just adapt to it. And then as it changes, we adapt again. I mean, that's just the way business works, right? I mean, Amazon's going to change, eBay's going to change, Poshmark's going to change. They're all going to change. So use whatever you want. You know, I look at it like I'm in business to be in business for myself. That was my first #1 goal, and then my first goal, and then to provide for me and my family. And the methods in which I do that and the ways are not nearly as important. In so much only is it that they fulfill those goals. If they fulfill those goals, I will do whatever method works and makes sense given, you know, this particular strengths and weaknesses that I have. I don't care if it's Amazon, I don't care if it's eBay, I don't care who it is, I don't care if it's, you know, YouTube, whatever it is, that's what I'm going to do. And I think that's just how we all should operate, because honestly, you know, you're all doing this for some other reason. There's not like a better model. There's not like the #1 model or something out there, the #1 way to run your business. I mean, that's kind of like sort of this, you know, I don't have a self-righteous attitude about selling. It's not like, hey, do it my way or hit the highway, or you're just the worst ever. Like, I'm the only one who knows how to do it the best, because I don't. And I think different models fit different people's situations, and even at different times in their evolution as a seller. So you have to kind of do what makes sense for you, given your constraints and given your personality and your energy and your expectation and all these things. So I look at, if I can figure out not an automated, that's the wrong word. If I can figure out a way where I can replicate my results and have a high chance of success and earn a great hourly rate doing it, and being able to scale said business without massive amounts of capital and time, I'm going to do it. And I think books is a potential opportunity. There's other opportunities out there too. It's not the only one, but I think books is a way you can do it, because I've seen enough evidence that says people are. And I don't think they're necessarily any, you know, smarter than me or harder working than me or whatever. They just have understood how to do something. So that's kind of the way I look at it. And, you know, you can take that for what it's worth. And I just think you should always be looking to figure out what sort of makes sense given your situation and what you want out of this, not what Prof Sales wants out of this or somebody else wants out of it. I mean, it has to work for you. It's your business, not mine. So I would encourage you all to continually be asking that question of yourself. Just, does this work for me? Is this getting me towards whatever my objectives are? Am I capable of putting in the time and energy and resources that this needs to hit those? And if the answer is no to any of those things, do something different. It's really that simple. Pivot, move in a different direction. The worst thing you can do is continue to flail away at a model or a way of doing business or on a platform or a type of thing you're selling that doesn't work for you. You, not me, you. So if that's where the situation where you find yourself right now, do something different. And if you ever want, to talk through that or have, or get my input on it, I will absolutely be glad to help you with that conversation. Because I think that's critically important. It's not so much, you have to kind of figure out how you want to get to a particular place and what it will take to get there, and then decide if that particular what, because I think there's a lot of what's that can get you to there, if that what works for you or not, because it might not. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think in the reseller community, we get into this mindset of that, like, oh, he's doing it wrong, or she's doing it wrong, or that won't work, or this won't work. I'm like, they all work. It's just a matter of whether they work good enough for you and your situation and with what's going on with you. So I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean to get up on a soapbox there, but I feel pretty passionately about that. And I hope that you guys will do that as well. Just always kind of be thinking about that. I'll take a couple more questions or comments here if there's anything that's come up in the chat here. Let's see. You will never succeed if you do not try. Yeah, I would argue not trying is failing. Actually, that is failing, because not making a choice is a choice. It's funny, Clarence Ninja. It just held for review your comment asking me or asking people to subscribe or comment. Why would it block that? Let's see. What are the all-in fees with Amazon? It costs you to ship books to them, a monthly subscription and storage fees. No. Yeah, it does cost. There is fees, storage fees. There's fees for when you sell something. You don't incur a fee on the front end. Like eBay, for instance, has insertion fees, which you can get some of those free if you have a store subscription, if you pay for a store subscription. But there's not a fee to list, but there is a fee when it sells, and there's a fee to store because they're warehousing your item, and that's legitimate. So you have to make it an estimation, especially if you're selling something like a book. Like if this book is not likely to sell in a year, I'm going to eat a year's worth of storage fees. Now, does it still make sense? Consider sort of the worst case. And if it does make sense, great. You can still send it in. Or you could even, and if it doesn't, maybe you can sell it merchant fulfilled yourself. That usually brings a lower price, but it's still a viable model. Are you going to do guest anymore? And Luke doesn't count. Yeah, Rob, when are you coming on? That's what I want to know. See, I'm going to throw it right back at you, sir. Yeah, we definitely want to. It's just, man, it's like my nights lately are kind of crazy too. It's just been a difficult, and it's difficult to have somebody come on during the day. It's just harder because people, I don't know, it just doesn't fit with their schedule. They might be West Coast or 3 hours behind us, and it just gets complicated. How much can you figure storage fees would be? Yeah, well, the Amazon seller app will tell you if you scan an item. Any good scanning app will tell you as well what your fees will be on that item, because they're going to know the book weight. They're going to know the book weight and sort of the size of the book, because it's a cubic storage fee, and they can tell you on those apps or Amazon's seller app as well. It has a spot on there if you touch on the price. Once you scan an item, it'll say, oh, you could sell it for this price, and you touch that, there's a little arrow to the right, and it'll tell you, I might have it on here. I can show you one real quick. Let's see if I do. I don't. Well, that's great. Oh, well, I got some of my history right. I was scanning a bunch of our books today. So, oh yeah, this will be a good one. So this item, I'll show you right here. So this item today, Kaaren had this in her this Star Wars. It's a pop-up guide of the galaxy, and that's what it would. And it says right there. It says the low offers are like $17 and $17.81 FBA. So if you touch that to the right there, I know it's a little hard to see. It comes up and it tells you seller fulfilled, and you can see on there like it has a spot where you can enter in your shipping cost to customer and cost of purchase, the bottom two blanks, and you see what your profit is if you fulfill it yourself. Okay, so if you click over here where it says Amazon fulfilled, you'll see there's probably less profit there because they have fees, as you can see up here, based on pick and pack fees and storage and just a general selling fee. So you would make less in that case if you send it in, right? In this particular book, it makes more sense to sell merchant fulfilled. There wasn't a big difference between the merchant fulfilled and Amazon FBA price. So sending it in, it might sell faster, it might not, but it would also cost a good bit more in relation to the price, and it didn't make sense. So I'm going to sell that one merchant fulfilled. And you can put in there your cost of goods and your cost to ship to the customer. Your customer might just be shipping it into Amazon FBA, in which case it's going to be really cheap. They have an amazing shipping deal worked out with UPS. When you ship a book in, it costs, literally on average, like, 40, 50, 60, 70 cents per book. If it's heavy, even if it's heavy, it costs that. And unless it's real heavy, then it could cost over $1, but it's way cheaper than you could ship it normally. But if you ship it to your customer, then obviously you're going to charge something to your customer just like you would on any other platform. And you have to go in there and just put in what your cost is, and it'll calculate what your, so going back to that, let's say that we're going to do it seller fulfilled. Going back to that example, trying to get it so there's not a glare, apologize. And let's say that the shipping to the customer, we'll say we ship it media mail. What would media mail be? Maybe $2.25, maybe. And then our cost of purchase, we'll say, was $1. We really didn't do anything. So now you see, golly, this is so hard to get it. Now you see your net proceeds is what, $10.09. So that's how much your profit would be after all your fees if you did it seller fulfilled and it cost you $2.25 to ship it to your customer and you paid $1 for it. So that's how it works. Really cool. I mean, really simple, right? Now compare that to selling on eBay. Man, you guys are killing me. You go compare it to selling on eBay. I have no idea. That book, and in fact, it's not free because long ago Kaaren bought it. But at this point, we've had it for years, and so we're just going to sell it. Cost to ship into Amazon, yeah. How can you figure what the storage fees would be? It's a rate that goes every month. So let's see. So the way they break down the fees for Amazon fulfilled, $17.81 price, which is not much better than the merchant fulfilled, so we wouldn't do it. But let's say we did. There's a referral fee of $2.67, a closing fee of $1.80, and pick and pack. This is the one where they get you, where a robot or a person is having to go get that item, $5.09. Like, that's the big fee, because you think about it, they're literally paying someone, or they bought a robot to go get that item and put it in a box and ship it to the customer. Now, the good thing, and it says shipping to Amazon's $1.23 if it's a 70 cents per pound. That's our estimate. So the good thing is when Amazon ships an item that's FBA, you don't have to deal with the customer service on the back end. There's a return and so on. They deal with it. They repackage it if it's still sellable and put it back in inventory. You don't deal with it. And that's pretty cool. Like, you don't have to pack up and ship it. You're paying for that service. You're paying for them to store it, and you're paying for them to pick it and to pack it and deal with the customer. I don't know what that's worth to you, but Amazon has a guess on what it's worth, and they're going to charge you for it. And you have to decide if that makes sense for a given book, given all the parameters. She bought it long, long ago in a galaxy far away. I see what you did there. All right, I got to get out of here. You guys have been awesome. It's been a great Friday. It's going to be a great weekend. I know it is. So I hope you guys have a great one as well. Sell some Legos. I just got those in from my consignment customer. Love it when I get in stuff like that. I got to get it listed, but it's going to be an awesome weekend. Hit the like button, the share and the like button. Share generates a post you can share with other people, and the like button is really, really simple to hit. I appreciate it. Lets me doing a great job. We'll be back on Monday. Pester Kaaren, make her come back too, so I don't have to carry this whole show by myself, because man, it's a lot of talking, and you guys are probably sick of hearing me yammer on. All right, but I will see you guys really soon. Have a great, awesome weekend. And as always, it's Prof Sales saying good sales to you.